Every small expense, every moment of lack, if you're constantly noticing what's missing, you're reinforcing scarcity. The truth is, wealthy people don't just have more money, they carry a different mindset. Imagine walking through life with quiet confidence, no more desperation, no more playing small, just a deep belief in abundance. In this video, I'll teach you how to train your mind to act as if you're already rich, so you naturally attract opportunities, success and wealth, because once you shift your identity, your reality starts to match it, and the world responds in kind. 1. The power of perception, an in-depth exploration. In today's world, wealth is often reduced to tangible metrics, money in the bank, cars, homes, and other material possessions. However, true wealth goes beyond what you own. It resides in how you perceive yourself and how others perceive you. The way you think about your potential, your success, and your value shapes your reality. The most important step in attracting wealth is to see yourself as abundant, even before any material evidence is present. This mental shift can be transformative and set the foundation for long-term success. Perception plays a critical yet often overlooked role in wealth creation. People tend to associate being rich with flashy possessions or high-status symbols, but true wealth lies in an individual's mindset and confidence. Wealthy people don't simply display material wealth, they embody an aura of success that extends into their daily interactions. They walk with confidence, and that confidence attracts opportunities and relationships that further fuel their success. Your internal perception of yourself dictates how you present yourself to the world. If you see yourself as abundant, others will recognize you as such. This is the law of attraction at play. You attract what you believe you deserve. The way you carry yourself, even when your bank account doesn't match your aspirations, will influence how people treat you. Those around you may offer opportunities or guidance that propel you toward your goals. The concept of the law of attraction, popularized by The Secret, suggests that we attract what we focus on. But this principle is rooted in psychological science. Our beliefs and perceptions shape our behaviors, and behaviors ultimately shape our outcomes. If you constantly view yourself as someone who struggles or lacks, your actions will align with that belief. You might hesitate to take risks, second-guess decisions, or miss opportunities because of fear or doubt. Conversely, perceiving yourself as abundant and successful, even before you see tangible results, instills confidence. This confidence drives you to take bolder actions that align with your aspirations, eventually manifesting your desired reality. This mindset doesn't guarantee instant wealth, but it positions you to see opportunities you might have missed otherwise. A growth mindset backed by perception encourages forward momentum, improving the chances of success in career and finance. Confidence is an essential component of perception. It's not just about feeling good about your abilities, it's about recognizing your inherent worth in the grand scheme of things. Confidence is the internal belief that you deserve success and that you are capable of creating value. This belief is magnetic, drawing people, opportunities, and success toward you. Confidence doesn't mean pretending to be something you're not. It means aligning with the truth of your potential. Research from the University of Melbourne shows that individuals with high self-confidence tend to perform better in negotiations, social settings, and business dealings. Confidence in yourself correlates directly with external success. When you carry this internal belief, people naturally treat you with more respect and are more likely to invest in you, whether through business partnerships or personal connections. Wealth is not just about financial assets. It encompasses health, relationships, skills, and mindset. Even without millions in the bank, a person rich in knowledge, connections, and opportunities can create wealth in various forms. For instance, two people may have the same financial resources, but one views wealth as a means for growth, while the other hoards it or uses it for status. The former will likely continue to evolve, whereas the latter may stagnate. When you act as though you are already rich, you adopt the lifestyle of someone successful. This mindset shapes your behavior, influencing the decisions you make and how you interact with others. Over time, This shift in perception turns into tangible result. True wealth is a reflection of your internal state, not merely your external circumstances. Perception doesn't just affect how others see you, it affects how you see the world. If you view your life through a lens of abundance, setbacks become challenges to overcome, not permanent obstacles. This mental shift is empowering as it enables you to approach difficulties with a growth mindset. On the flip side, if you perceive yourself as someone who's always struggling, your emotional state becomes clouded by scarcity. You may feel victimized by circumstances, draining your energy and resilience. When challenges arise, a mindset of abundance helps you see them as stepping stones. You build resilience, as setbacks no longer define your potential, but rather serve as lessons to learn from. This shift from a mindset of lack to one of abundance is key to cultivating the mental toughness required to thrive in adversity. Neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reorganize itself by forming new neural connections, provides a scientific foundation for the power of perception. Studies show that positive thinking and visualization can enhance cognitive functions, improve problem-solving abilities, and foster creativity. These cognitive abilities are essential for success. When you repeatedly perceive yourself as abundant and capable, your brain begins to form neural pathways that support those beliefs. Over time, these pathways become stronger, making it easier for you to act confidently and think strategically. As your brain rewires itself to match your perception, you become more adept at creating opportunities and navigating challenges. Perception doesn't only impact you, it influences those around you as well. When you perceive yourself as wealthy, this perception spreads, your energy becomes contagious. People begin to see you as someone capable and successful, which can open doors to valuable connections and collaborations. The ripple effect of your perceived abundance creates a positive feedback loop that attracts even more opportunities and success. Furthermore, projecting abundance can inspire others to see their own potential. This shared energy boosts collective growth, as people become more confident in their abilities, and they in turn contribute to your success. As you become more successful, you also lift others around you, creating a community of like-minded individuals who can support and collaborate with you. 2. Confidence breeds opportunities. Confidence has an incredible power to shape our interactions and outcomes in life. When you walk into a room, whether it's a casual gathering or a professional setting, the way you carry yourself speaks volumes before you even say a word. Imagine yourself at a dinner party where a conversation is unfolding. There's someone in the group who stands out, not because they're loud or dominating the conversation, but because their words are delivered with confidence. They don't need to boast about their achievements. Their self-assurance is evident in the way they speak, the value they provide, and the ease with which they carry themselves. This is the type of presence that attracts opportunities. When you act as if you are already rich, not just financially, but rich in potential, knowledge, and self-belief, you begin to embody the same self-assurance. You don't need to flaunt anything or seek validation from others. Your energy and demeanor communicate success in a way that naturally draws people in. Confidence makes you magnetic. It signals to others that you are someone worth paying attention to, someone who has something valuable to offer. Opportunities don't just come because you're trying to impress or because you're putting yourself out there in an exaggerated way. When you exude genuine confidence, the opportunities appear because people recognize your worth without you needing to sell it. The best business deals, collaborations, and even friendships often come from the unspoken things we communicate. Think about it. People are more likely to want to partner with you, learn from you, or invest in you if they believe you have something of value to offer, not just financially but intellectually and emotionally as well. This is where the power of acting as if you're already rich becomes evident. It's not about waiting for a future financial situation to define who you are. It's about owning your worth and acting in alignment with that perception, regardless of where you stand financially. The way you present yourself in social or professional situations is just as important, if not more, than the tangible assets you possess. Wealth isn't only material, it's a mindset, an attitude that informs how you approach life. When you carry yourself with confidence, people see that and recognize that you're someone who knows what they're doing, someone who is worth engaging with, Research has shown that confidence can actually affect how we are perceived by others and how we perform in different situations. For instance, a study from the Journal of Applied Psychology found that confident individuals were more likely to be hired and promoted because their assertiveness and self-assuredness signaled leadership qualities. Confidence helps in all areas of life, from personal relationships to career growth. It has the power to attract opportunities that you may not have even anticipated. People with confidence can often convince others to invest in their ideas, their projects, or their future because they believe in themselves first. This belief is contagious. It makes others feel like they're betting on a winning horse. Conversely, those who lack confidence often struggle to gain trust or interest because they project doubt or uncertainty. The difference is subtle but significant. Confidence doesn't need to scream for attention. It naturally draws others in because it conveys a sense of reliability and assurance that makes people comfortable following your lead. When you act as if you're already rich in confidence, the opportunities will start to come to you not because you're seeking them out desperately, but because you're already aligning with a mindset of abundance. People who project confidence can create situations where success is the natural outcome. This doesn't mean that obstacles won't come. It simply means that you will be better equipped to handle them with poise, to make the most out of situations and to attract the right people into your circle, whether it's a business opportunity, a job offer, or an introduction to someone influential. Confidence lays the foundation for your success. It doesn't guarantee wealth, but it certainly paves the way for it. 3. The power of visualization. Successful individuals don't just sit back and hope for wealth to come to them. They actively visualize it. They engage in a practice that goes beyond wishful thinking, where they see themselves walking through life, living with wealth, influence, and the success they desire. This is not about merely fantasizing about a dream lifestyle. It's about using visualization as a tool to manifest those desires into reality. At the core of this practice is the ability to picture in vivid detail the life you want to create. When you visualize success, you are not only seeing yourself in that ideal scenario, but you are also mentally rehearsing the actions and behaviors that come with it. Imagine yourself already in the position you aspire to be in. How do you carry yourself? How do you make decisions? How do you interact with others? This practice of vividly imagining the details of your future life helps you to better understand what it takes to reach your goals, and it begins to align your actions with those desires. A visualization goes beyond just creating a mental picture. It's about aligning your thoughts, feelings, and actions to support your vision. When you visualize yourself achieving wealth and success, you begin to internalize the belief that it's possible. This belief becomes a driving force in your life, motivating you to take action towards your goals, even when the path seems unclear. The power of visualization lies in its ability to activate certain areas of the brain. Research in neuroscience has shown that visualization activates the same brain regions as actual physical actions. When you visualize yourself performing a task or achieving something, your brain begins to believe that it's real, preparing you mentally and emotionally for that success. This mental rehearsal improves performance and builds confidence. In fact, studies have shown that athletes who visualize their performance can often improve their skills and outcomes without ever physically practicing the act. The mind doesn't distinguish between a vividly imagined scenario and a real-life experience, meaning that by consistently visualizing success, you are mentally preparing yourself for the reality you want to create. Furthermore, visualization doesn't just change how you think, it also influences how you act. When you regularly visualize your desired success, your brain becomes more attuned to opportunities that align with your goals. You start to notice opportunities you may have otherwise overlooked, and your actions are driven by a sense of purpose and alignment with your visualized success. For example, if you visualize yourself as a successful entrepreneur, you may begin to see opportunities for networking, investments, or business ventures that you may not have recognized previously. Your actions begin to follow the path you've mentally rehearsed, making your dreams increasingly attainable. The universe, in many spiritual philosophies, is believed to respond to the energy you put out. By visualizing your success, you align yourself with the energy of abundance and possibility. The law of attraction, as described in popular personal development literature, suggests that by focusing on positive thoughts and creating mental clarity around your desires, you begin to attract those very desires into your life. Visualization acts as a beacon that signals to the world what you want and opens up the space for those opportunities to enter your life. In addition to attracting external opportunities, visualization can help overcome internal barriers that may stand in your way. Often, the only thing that holds us back from achieving our dreams is our own limiting beliefs. These beliefs can manifest in thoughts like, "I'm not good enough," or "I can't do this." When you visualize yourself already living the life you want, you begin to overwrite those limiting beliefs. Visualization allows you to reprogram your subconscious mind, gradually replacing fear and doubt with confidence and determination. It's important to note that visualization is not about wishful thinking without action. It is a catalyst for action. Once you have vividly visualized your goals, you need to back them up with tangible efforts. But visualization helps set the tone for your actions. It provides clarity and focus so that you know exactly what steps to take to make your vision a reality. For example, if you envision yourself as a published author, you will begin to take steps towards writing, researching, and submitting your work. These actions will be driven by your clear and consistent vision. Furthermore, the act of visualizing wealth and success can also impact your emotional state. The more you picture yourself living the life you desire, the more emotionally connected you become to your goals. This emotional connection is powerful. It creates a sense of excitement and passion, which propels you forward. Your emotions become a source of energy that fuels your actions, helping you push through difficult moments. There is also a social aspect to visualization. As you begin to believe in your own success, others begin to notice this shift in your energy and attitude. Confidence, clarity, and purpose are magnetic traits. When you project this energy, people around you start to take you more seriously. They see you as someone who is determined and capable, and this perception can open doors for you in both your personal and professional life. Opportunities begin to flow to you not because you're forcing them, but because you've aligned yourself with the energy of success, and the world recognizes that. Visualization, when practiced consistently and with intention, becomes an integral part of your journey to success. It is not just a passive activity, but an active tool that shapes how you think, how you act, and how the world interacts with you. By visualizing the life you desire, you align your mind and energy with those goals, creating the conditions for them to manifest in the physical world. It is this combination of mental preparation, clarity, and action that ultimately transforms your dreams into reality. 4. Abandoning fear of failure. One of the most empowering aspects of acting as if you're already rich is the freedom it brings from the fear of failure. Many people are paralyzed by the idea of failing, but when you adopt the mindset of success and abundance, that fear dissipates. Successful individuals know that setbacks and obstacles are an inevitable part of the journey, and they don't let them deter them from their goals. Believing you are destined for success frees you from the shackles of fear, enabling you to take risks and embrace challenges that others might shy away from. Fear of failure is one of the greatest obstacles to personal growth and success. For most people, the idea of failing is so uncomfortable that they avoid taking risks altogether. They play it safe, sticking to what is familiar and secure. However, those who are truly successful understand that failure is not something to fear, but something to embrace. Wealthy individuals and high achievers are not immune to setbacks. In fact, they experience failure just like anyone else. The key difference is in how they perceive it. Rather than seeing failure as an endpoint, they see it as a necessary part of the growth process, a stepping stone on the path to success. When you act as if you're already rich, you adopt this same mindset. Instead of fearing failure, you view it as an opportunity to learn and improve. Every setback becomes a lesson that brings you closer to your goal. This mindset shift is crucial because it allows you to take bold action without being consumed by the fear of making mistakes. It empowers you to experiment, innovate, and push beyond your comfort zone, all of which are essential components of success. Failure is not the opposite of success. It's a part of it. Each time you fail, you gain feedback that helps you adjust your approach. Successful people don't see failure as a reflection of their worth or an indication that they aren't good enough. Instead, they view it as data, an opportunity to refine their methods and strategies. For example, Thomas Edison, who failed countless times while inventing the light bulb, famously said, "I have not failed, I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." This perspective is essential in building a mindset that is resilient and focused on long-term success. The fear of failure is often tied to an underlying lack of self-belief. People who fear failure worry that their mistakes will define them, or worse, they worry that others will judge them negatively. However, when you act as if you are already successful, you develop an unshakable confidence that failure does not diminish your worth. Wealthy individuals who have reached the highest levels of success have often faced criticism, rejection, and failure, but their sense of value is not dependent on external validation. They understand that their worth is intrinsic, and no single failure can take that away. This mindset also helps you become more resilient in the face of adversity. When you act as if you are already rich, you take the attitude that no challenge is too big to overcome. Every difficulty becomes an opportunity to prove your perseverance and determination. For example, entrepreneurs like Steve Jobs and Elon Musk faced numerous failures throughout their careers, but they didn't let these setbacks stop them from pursuing their dreams. They continued to push forward, learning from their mistakes and using each failure as a foundation for their next success. The ability to face challenges head-on without being deterred is a hallmark of those who achieve great success. Moreover, the fear of failure often stems from a sense of attachment to outcomes. People are afraid to fail because they have an emotional investment in a specific result. When you adopt the mindset of someone who is already successful, you let go of this attachment. You no longer define yourself by a single outcome, but by the process of growth and learning. This detachment allows you to pursue your goals with greater freedom and less stress. You begin to realize that success is not a straight line, it's a series of ups and downs, with each setback providing valuable insights into what works and what doesn't. This shift in mindset also enables you to become more proactive. Instead of waiting for the perfect moment or trying to avoid failure at all costs, you take action regardless of potential risks. People who act as if they are already rich take calculated risks because they understand that there is no success without failure. This proactive approach allows them to seize opportunities that others might miss, knowing that every step they take, even if it's a misstep, brings them closer to their desired outcome. In addition, acting as if you're already rich in your mindset helps to build mental toughness. Each time you face a challenge and push through, your confidence grows and your ability to handle future difficulties improves. This creates a feedback loop where success builds on success. The more you overcome, the more you realize your own capacity for growth and achievement. As you continue to face and conquer setbacks, you develop a stronger sense of self-belief and resilience, which propels you even further toward your goals. The process of abandoning the fear of failure and embracing failure as a necessary step in the journey of success requires mental training. It's not something that happens overnight, but with consistent effort, you can cultivate a mindset that is unshakable in the face of adversity. When you stop fearing failure, you unlock your potential for growth and success. You take action without hesitation, knowing that failure is not the end, but merely a part of the process of achieving greatness. This mindset allows you to move forward with courage, focus, and determination, qualities that are essential for anyone aiming to create lasting wealth and success. 5. Taking decisive action. One of the most significant distinctions between successful individuals and those who struggle is the ability to take decisive action. Acting rich, or acting as if you're already wealthy, isn't about waiting for the perfect moment or for circumstances to be ideal. It's about moving with clarity, confidence, and purpose when opportunities arise. The wealthy are known for their ability to make decisions quickly and take action without unnecessary hesitation or second-guessing. They know that waiting for things to fall into place can cause them to lose valuable opportunities. By acting decisively, they maintain momentum and continue to move toward their goals regardless of external conditions. Decisive action is not about rushing or acting without consideration. It's about making decisions with confidence and commitment. Wealthy individuals understand that the cost of hesitation can be substantial, often resulting in missed opportunities or wasted time. In the fast-paced world of business and entrepreneurship, time is money, and delaying decisions or second-guessing yourself can lead to losing a competitive edge. When opportunity arises, those who are successful don't sit around analyzing every possible outcome for fear of making the wrong choice. Instead, they gather the necessary information, trust their instincts, and act. This doesn't mean that wealthy individuals never face uncertainty or make mistakes. Everyone experiences doubt at some point, and making mistakes is a part of the growth process. However, the key to success is in how quickly they recover and adapt from those mistakes. Instead of dwelling on past missteps, wealthy individuals view them as learning opportunities and move forward with a sense of confidence that they will continue to make progress toward their goals. In fact, their ability to take action, even in the face of uncertainty, often positions them to make quicker adjustments and stay ahead of others. When you act as if you're already rich, you adopt the mindset of someone who is actively creating their own opportunities rather than waiting for them to present themselves. Rather than sitting back and waiting for external circumstances to change, you take control of your own destiny. This mindset shift is crucial because it encourages proactive behavior and aligns your actions with your goals. Instead of letting fear of failure or the unknown hold you back, you focus on what you can do now, no matter how small or imperfect the steps may seem. Wealthy individuals don't wait for the right time because they know that waiting can often lead to missed chances. They understand that success comes from taking action in the present, regardless of the current situation. The power of decisive action is not just about making big, bold moves. It's also about consistently taking small steps forward. Success is not typically a result of one grand gesture or a single dramatic change, but of a series of consistent actions over time. When you act with purpose and decisiveness, you create a snowball effect where your efforts compound and lead to increasingly larger opportunities. The wealthy understand that every small step is part of a larger journey. They stay focused on their long-term goals and take actions that align with those aspirations, no matter how incremental the progress may seem. Another aspect of decisiveness is the ability to trust your instincts. Wealthy individuals often possess a high degree of self-assurance and rely on their experience, intuition, and judgment when making decisions. This level of trust in oneself is built over time as people consistently make decisions and see the results of their actions. By acting as if you are already rich, you start building that same level of self-trust. You begin to rely on your own judgment and act quickly rather than overthinking and doubting yourself. This trust in your decisions helps you maintain a sense of empowerment and control over your circumstances, which is essential when navigating the challenges of building wealth. In addition, taking decisive action fosters a sense of momentum. Momentum is a powerful force that propels you toward your goals. Once you start taking action, you create a positive feedback loop. The more you act, the more confident you become, and the more opportunities seem to open up. Success breeds more success. Wealthy individuals know that the key to creating momentum is simply getting started. By making the decision to act, no matter how small the initial step, you begin to build the forward movement that will eventually carry you to greater accomplishments. The longer you wait, the harder it becomes to get started, and the more opportunities you lose. One of the key reasons why decisive action is essential for wealth creation is that it helps you overcome the fear of failure. Many people delay taking action because they fear making the wrong decision or facing failure. But when you act as if you're already successful, you realize that failure is not the end. It's part of the journey. Failure is feedback, and it's an essential part of learning and growth. Wealthy individuals don't fear failure. They embrace it as an opportunity to adjust and improve. By consistently taking action, They accumulate experiences and knowledge that enable them to make better decisions in the future. This process of trial and error allows them to refine their strategies and increase their chances of success. Moreover, acting decisively means that you are not only reacting to opportunities but also creating them. Wealthy individuals don't wait for opportunities to come to them, they go out and create them. They identify gaps in the market, recognize trends, and take bold steps to capitalize on them. By making decisions quickly and acting on those decisions, they position themselves as leaders in their industries. They know that in order to stay ahead, they must consistently act with intention and urgency. This proactive behavior helps them gain a competitive advantage and ensures they don't miss out on valuable opportunities. Ultimately, taking decisive action is about building a habit of moving forward. When you act as if you are already wealthy, you start making decisions with the same confidence and clarity that successful people use. You stop waiting for the perfect conditions, and instead you create those conditions by acting decisively. Whether it's a small daily task or a major life decision, taking action consistently will lead to progress, growth, and ultimately the wealth you seek. 6. Surrounding yourself with like-minded individuals. Wealth isn't just something that can be accumulated, it's a mindset that is contagious. Just as you might catch a cold from being around someone who is sick, you can also catch the mindset of wealth from the people you associate with. One of the most powerful ways to act as if you're already rich is by surrounding yourself with individuals who reflect the mindset and values you aspire to embody. This is because the people around you play a significant role in shaping your behavior, beliefs, and habits. If you are constantly around individuals who dwell on scarcity, negativity, or who constantly complain about life, it becomes incredibly difficult to maintain an optimistic, abundant mindset. Conversely, when you choose to surround yourself with people who see possibility in every situation, who understand that success is a collective effort, you naturally begin to mirror their energy and behaviors. Wealthy individuals, especially those who have sustained success, tend to avoid the company of people who focus on limitations and negativity. These people often see the world through a lens of lack, constantly talking about what they don't have, what others have taken from them, or how things are unfair. This kind of thinking breeds stagnation, and it's hard to move forward when you're surrounded by such an energy. Wealthy individuals recognize that energy is powerful, and they are deliberate about who they allow into their personal and professional circles. They know that being surrounded by negativity can drag them down, while associating with positive, forward-thinking people can help elevate their mindset and push them closer to their goals. On the other hand, individuals who maintain a growth-oriented mindset and focus on opportunity rather than obstacles are the types of people who can contribute to your growth. When you spend time with people who believe in abundance, who see potential in challenges, and who approach life with a can-do attitude, you begin to adopt these same attitudes and behaviors. This doesn't just happen in a superficial way. It happens deeply at a psychological level. Your brain starts to mirror the thoughts and behaviors of those you spend the most time with. If your peers are always seeking ways to improve, innovate, and grow, you're far more likely to adopt these practices in your own life. There's a well-known concept in psychology called social contagion, which refers to the spread of behaviors, attitudes, and emotions within a group. Studies have shown that you are likely to adopt the attitudes and habits of those around you. This is why surrounding yourself with like-minded individuals is so crucial for success. If you want to act like you're already rich, find people who are already living the kind of life you aspire to. The more you surround yourself with people who are already successful, both financially and personally, the more likely you are to absorb their beliefs and behaviors, aligning yourself with the success you want to achieve. Wealthy individuals know that success is a shared journey. Success doesn't happen in isolation, and they recognize the importance of collaboration, networking, and learning from others. When you connect with others who are already successful, you open up opportunities to collaborate, exchange ideas, and share resources. These interactions can propel you further in your journey towards success. For example, a business owner who surrounds themselves with other entrepreneurs can exchange valuable insights, partner on projects, and even get access to resources they might not have had before. The impact of being around like-minded individuals goes beyond just professional growth. It also influences your personal mindset. People who live in abundance are not constantly in competition with others or focused on comparing their success to those around them. Instead, they celebrate the success of others, understanding that when one person succeeds, it doesn't take away from their own potential to succeed. This kind of mindset creates an environment where collaboration and support thrive. Success becomes a communal experience where each person's growth lifts the others around them. In this environment, you start to see challenges as shared problems to solve rather than insurmountable barriers. When you're surrounded by people who see possibilities in challenges, you start to approach obstacles with a problem-solving attitude instead of feeling defeated. This fosters a mindset of continuous growth and resilience. For instance, if you're working on a project and run into a setback, being around people who encourage you to look at the solution instead of the problem can help you push through much faster than if you were routed by people who only see the barriers. Surrounding yourself with like-minded individuals also has a positive impact on your habits. Wealthy people often have habits that contribute to their success, whether it's waking up early, prioritizing health, staying disciplined in their work, or maintaining a positive outlook. When you associate with individuals who practice these habits, you're more likely to adopt them as well. You begin to adopt the routines, practices, and behaviors that will ultimately lead to your success. On the flip side, it's important to recognize when the people around you are holding you back. If your current social circle is full of individuals who focus on problems rather than solutions, constantly complain or discourage your efforts, it may be time to reassess your relationships. This doesn't mean you have to cut off friends or family, but it's about balancing your social circle with those who can positively impact your journey. The more you align yourself with individuals who embody the mindset you want to adopt, the more likely it is that you will adopt it too. By surrounding yourself with the right people, you begin to naturally mirror their energy, behaviors, and mindset. This mirroring process can accelerate your own success. The behaviors, attitudes, and practices of successful people are not exclusive to them. They can be learned and adopted by anyone. As you start to absorb the mindsets of those you admire, your thoughts, actions, and ultimately your reality will shift towards success. The right people will challenge you, push you to be better, and inspire you to take actions you might not have considered before. Wealth and success are not just about financial abundance, but about aligning yourself with people who elevate your thinking and support your journey. 7. Self-care as an investment. Acting as if you're already rich is not solely about accumulating wealth or material possessions. One of the core principles of living with abundance is valuing yourself, your health, mind, and emotions. Wealthy individuals understand that their greatest asset is their health. Without good health, even the largest bank account loses its significance. Therefore, they prioritize self-care just as much as they do their business ventures. For them, their physical, mental, and emotional well-being are investments that pay dividends far beyond financial wealth. When you adopt this mindset and start treating your health with the same level of importance as you would a $1 million asset, you begin to set the foundation for lasting success and well-being in all aspects of your life. We often think of investment in terms of money, stocks, real estate, and business ventures, but the most important investment you can make is in yourself. Wealthy people understand this concept well. They recognize that without taking care of their physical, mental, and emotional health, their ability to generate wealth and manage success diminishes. Your health directly affects your ability to be productive, focused, and successful in any venture. If you don't invest in your well-being, it becomes much harder to maintain the energy and resilience required to achieve and sustain wealth. The first and most tangible way to invest in yourself is by taking care of your body. Your body is the vehicle through which you experience life, and its condition directly impacts your performance. Wealthy individuals understand the value of nourishing their bodies with good food, regular exercise, and enough rest. Eating well provides the necessary nutrients to fuel your brain and body, ensuring that you have the energy to perform at your highest level. Consuming foods that are nutrient-dense, rich in vitamins and minerals and low in processed ingredients, helps maintain both physical vitality and mental clarity. Exercise, meanwhile, improves physical fitness, boosts energy and reduces stress, while also promoting a sense of well-being and discipline. Regular exercise, even in small increments, has been shown to improve cognitive function, mood, and productivity, making it an essential investment in your ability to perform at your best. However, self-care extends far beyond just physical health. It also encompasses mental and emotional well-being. Mental health is just as important as physical health because it dictates how you think, react, and perform in various situations. Wealthy individuals know that without mental clarity, it's difficult to make good decisions or maintain focus. Meditation, mindfulness, and stress management practices are integral components of a healthy, successful life. Meditation, for example, has been shown to reduce stress, improve emotional regulation, and enhance focus, all of which are essential for thriving in both business and personal life. By taking time to clear your mind and prioritize mental health, you increase your emotional resilience, allowing you to navigate challenges with more grace and stability. In addition to meditation, engaging in activities that promote mental well-being, such as reading, journaling, or pursuing hobbies, also contribute to your overall success. Lifelong learning and mental stimulation are key aspects of growing as an individual and enhancing your ability to adapt to changing circumstances. When you invest in your mind through education or mental exercises, you're better equipped to handle complex problems, generate new ideas, and recognize opportunities for growth. Emotional health is another critical aspect of self-care. Wealthy individuals understand that emotional well-being is directly linked to success. When you have emotional stability, you can maintain strong relationships, make better decisions, and navigate challenges with confidence. Developing emotional intelligence, EQ, the ability to recognize, understand, and manage your emotions, is a key factor in personal and professional success. Individuals with high EQ are better at managing stress, working through conflicts, and maintaining a positive outlook. This emotional balance also allows you to remain resilient in the face of setbacks, making it easier to recover from failures and keep moving forward. One important aspect of investing in your emotional health is creating healthy boundaries. Wealthy individuals know how to manage their time and energy by setting limits on their work and personal commitments. They avoid burnout by prioritizing what matters most and saying no when necessary. Self-care isn't just about relaxation, it's about protecting your time, energy, and emotional health. By learning to set boundaries and say no to distractions or obligations that don't align with your goals, you're able to conserve your energy for what truly matters. When you act as if you're already rich, this mindset encourages you to treat self-care as a priority, not a luxury. This shift in perspective transforms your relationship with health and well-being, allowing you to make the time and effort needed for regular exercise, proper nutrition, and mental and emotional practices. The more you invest in yourself, the more capable you become of handling the challenges that come with building and maintaining wealth. In the same way that wealthy individuals put time and effort into their financial assets, they also dedicate resources, time, energy, and attention to their personal well-being. Wealthy individuals also tend to focus on work-life balance. They understand that while business ventures and wealth building are important, personal fulfillment, happiness, and connection are just as essential for sustained success. Investing in relationships, taking vacations, or spending time with loved ones are all part of ensuring a well-rounded life. By creating space for both work and personal enjoyment, wealthy individuals maintain their energy and enthusiasm, which fuels their drive for success. A balanced life is a productive life, and investing in your well-being ensures you have the energy and focus to pursue your goals. Ultimately, treating yourself as your greatest asset doesn't just benefit you physically or emotionally, it pays dividends in all areas of life. When you take the time to nourish your body, calm your mind, and nurture your emotional health, you become more aligned with your vision of wealth and success. This internal investment creates a foundation for all other forms of wealth to flow into your life, from financial success to stronger relationships and personal fulfillment. Self-care is not a luxury, It's a necessity for anyone looking to truly succeed. When you prioritize your health and well-being, everything else in life becomes easier to achieve. 8. Mastering the art of giving. One of the most transformative aspects of acting as if you're already rich is learning to embrace generosity. This doesn't just mean giving away material wealth. It extends to giving in various forms, be it time, knowledge, or resources. Wealthy individuals understand that true prosperity doesn't come from hoarding or accumulating wealth for its own sake. Instead, they recognize that wealth grows through the act of sharing. The principle behind this is simple but powerful. When you give, you send a signal to the universe that you have abundance to spare. By giving freely, you invite even more abundance into your life. Generosity is a cornerstone of wealth because it operates on the principle of abundance, not scarcity. When you give, you are showing that you do not view resources, whether financial, emotional, or intellectual, as limited. Wealthy people know that there is always more to be gained, and by sharing what they have, they create space for more to flow into their lives. Giving becomes a reflection of the mindset that there is enough for everyone, and in turn, this abundance mindset is what attracts more wealth. Wealthy individuals don't give out of obligation or to receive something in return. Instead, they give because they understand that sharing is a form of investment, not just in others but in their own well-being and future success. The act of giving is far more than a simple transaction. It creates a powerful energy of flow. When you give without expectation, the energy you put into the world circulates and often returns to you multiplied. This is not to say that wealth is guaranteed just because you give, but the act of giving opens up the channels of receiving. Whether it's knowledge, resources, or time, giving without expecting anything in return generates a flow of positive energy, relationships, and opportunities. This is why wealthy individuals often find themselves surrounded by even more wealth. It's not just about accumulating money, but about contributing to the world in meaningful ways. The psychology behind giving is also key to understanding its power. Studies have shown that generosity actually triggers the release of oxytocin, a hormone that promotes feelings of connection and happiness. When people give, they often experience a sense of joy and fulfillment, which creates a positive emotional feedback loop. This not only enhances their well-being, but encourages them to continue giving. Wealthy individuals are aware of this emotional and psychological benefit, and they use it as part of their strategy for maintaining long-term prosperity and happiness. Generosity also works to build social capital. People naturally gravitate towards those who are generous, as it signals kindness, trust, and a willingness to support others. Wealthy individuals, by regularly giving, cultivate strong networks and relationships that ultimately contribute to their success. They don't give to create these networks, they give because they understand the power of building relationships based on trust and mutual support. In turn, these relationships often lead to new opportunities, partnerships, or ideas that further elevate their success. Importantly, giving is not always about giving money. It can also mean sharing your knowledge and expertise. Many successful people build wealth by mentoring others, offering advice, or teaching skills. By sharing what they know, they help elevate the success of those around them, which in turn contributes to their own growth. When you share knowledge, you solidify your position as an expert in your field, attract opportunities for collaborations, and establish yourself as a trusted resource. The act of giving knowledge or support doesn't diminish your expertise, rather it reinforces it. The more you give, the more you build a reputation for being valuable, and this naturally attracts further success. Similarly, sharing time is another vital form of generosity. Time is often considered the most precious resource because once it's gone, it can never be reclaimed. When you give your time to others, you are showing that you value them and their success as much as your own. Whether it's volunteering, offering assistance, or simply being there for others, the act of giving your time fosters deeper connections and enhances your reputation. People who have your time are likely to feel more connected to you and are more likely to support you in return when the time comes. When you act as if you are already rich, you begin to realize that true wealth is not just about accumulating material resources, it's about creating a balance between receiving and giving. Many of the most successful people in the world recognize that their wealth is tied to their ability to contribute to the lives of others. They are driven by a sense of purpose that involves more than just amassing wealth for themselves. They use their success to make a positive impact, whether it's through philanthropy, mentorship, or community involvement. They understand that the more they give, the more their wealth will grow, not just in material terms, but in experiences, relationships, and personal fulfillment. Giving also teaches you to detach from the need for control. When you give generously, you are putting trust in the process, knowing that what you give will return to you in some form. This is a core lesson for building long-term success, learning to let go and trust that your efforts will come back to you. Many wealthy individuals take this lesson to heart, focusing on the bigger picture rather than immediate gratification or control over outcomes. They trust that their generosity will multiply and that they will continue to receive wealth, but in ways that might be unexpected or unconventional. Ultimately, mastering the art of giving allows you to cultivate an abundance mindset that is essential for lasting wealth. When you give without expecting something in return, you attract more opportunities, create deeper relationships, and build a positive reputation that leads to more success. This approach doesn't just apply to the wealthy. Anyone can practice generosity to create positive energy and attract success. The more you give, the more you receive, and in that cycle of giving and receiving, your wealth, both material and personal, grows in profound and unexpected ways. 9. Living with integrity. Integrity is a non-negotiable quality for anyone who has achieved true wealth and success. When you act as if you're already rich, it's not just about what you have in your bank account or the possessions you own. It's about the person you are, the reputation you build, and the values you uphold. Wealth, at its core, is deeply intertwined with character, and integrity is the bedrock upon which lasting success is built. When you live with integrity, you align your actions with your principles, which creates an authentic, trustworthy foundation that attracts success, not only financial, but also personal and professional. Living with integrity means being authentic, which is about being true to yourself and to others. It's not about pretending to be someone you're not to fit into certain circles or project an image of wealth. True wealth comes when you embody your values in all that you do. This is why wealthy individuals focus not just on building their financial portfolio, but on creating a life and a reputation that reflects their authentic self. Wealthy people understand that material success is fleeting, but a reputation built on trust and respect lasts a lifetime. Integrity in business is paramount. Honoring your word, being transparent, and treating others with fairness are essential practices for building a reputation that can stand the test of time. When you act as if you're already wealthy, you adopt the mindset that your reputation is as valuable, if not more valuable, than the financial success you hope to achieve. Wealthy individuals don't compromise their values to make a quick profit. They know that shortcuts, dishonesty, or manipulative behaviors may lead to temporary gains, but they'll ultimately damage relationships and tarnish a reputation, leading to long-term losses. Building wealth through integrity means staying true to your commitments, both to yourself and to others. People with integrity honor their promises and take responsibility for their actions. This reliability is a crucial element of successful relationships, whether in business or personal life. When you are dependable and trustworthy, people want to work with you, collaborate with you, and invest in your ventures because they know you will follow through. This builds loyalty and strong partnerships, which can be more valuable than any amount of money you could earn in isolation. Integrity also requires you to have a strong moral compass, especially when faced with tough decisions. In a world that often prioritizes quick profits or success at any cost, living with integrity means choosing the right path, even when it's more difficult. Wealthy individuals who have built their success on integrity do so by making decisions that align with their values, even if it means walking away from an opportunity that doesn't feel right or waiting longer to achieve their goals. This long-term perspective pays off. They understand that true success comes from doing the right thing consistently, even when it's not the easiest option. Living with integrity also means showing respect to others, whether they are clients, employees, or business partners. Wealthy people don't view others as mere stepping stones to their success. They recognize that relationships are integral to their prosperity and that treating people with kindness and respect is a way of ensuring those relationships are mutually beneficial. When you act as if you're already rich, you approach every interaction with a sense of fairness and honesty, knowing that the way you treat others reflects your character and influences the success you attract. This authenticity builds trust, and trust is the foundation of any meaningful business or personal relationship. The wealthiest individuals know that building trust requires consistent, authentic behavior. When you have a reputation for being trustworthy, people are more likely to approach you with opportunities, invest in your ideas, and partner with you for future success. They know that when they invest in relationships built on integrity, they are investing in something that will yield returns far greater than anything financial could. Furthermore, living with integrity has a profound effect on your own sense of self-worth. When you act with integrity, you create a sense of inner peace and fulfillment because you know that your success isn't the result of shortcuts or exploiting others. Instead, it comes from making decisions that align with your principles. Wealthy individuals who have sustained success often say that true happiness is not derived from their bank account, but from knowing they have built their success on their values. One of the most important aspects of integrity is the ability to remain accountable for your actions, especially when things go wrong. Those who act with integrity don't shy away from their mistakes or try to blame others. Instead, they acknowledge their failures, take responsibility, and learn from them. This level of self-awareness and accountability is what allows them to grow and improve over time. People who live with integrity are continually evolving as they use their experiences to refine their character and become more effective in their endeavors. The wealth that comes from integrity is not just financial, it's emotional, relational, and spiritual. When you live authentically, you attract like-minded individuals who respect and admire you for your honesty and dedication to doing what's right. People who live with integrity naturally attract respect, admiration, and loyalty from those around them. This results in stronger business relationships, lasting friendships, and a sense of fulfillment that money alone cannot provide. Ultimately, living with integrity builds a strong foundation for both personal and financial success. It allows you to build a reputation that aligns with your values, which attracts opportunities and relationships that support your growth. By consistently acting in alignment with your values, you cultivate trust, respect, and long-term success. The wealthiest people in the world understand this principle. They know that their reputation is one of their most valuable assets, and they protect it by living with authenticity and integrity. 10. The unstoppable mindset. To act as if you are already rich, you must first cultivate a mindset that is resilient to the inevitable ups and downs of life. Wealthy individuals understand that life is filled with challenges, obstacles, and setbacks. These individuals don't crumble under pressure or let adversity define their success. Instead, they embrace challenges with a mindset that believes nothing is impossible. This mentality allows them to push through difficult situations and remain focused on their long-term goals, no matter what obstacles they face. The key to wealth and success for these individuals lies in their ability to stay persistent and determined regardless of external circumstances. A fundamental characteristic of wealthy individuals is their relentless pursuit of their goals. They know that true success is not achieved overnight. It is the result of consistent effort, time, and a long-term commitment to their vision. Wealth, whether financial or personal, is the product of continuous effort, and those who act as if they are already rich embrace the idea that perseverance is more important than any momentary setback. They understand that success is rarely linear, and that the path to wealth is often full of twists, turns, and challenges. But what distinguishes those who succeed from those who don't is the ability to keep going when the going gets tough. This unstoppable mindset allows wealthy individuals to see every challenge as a stepping stone to greater success, rather than a roadblock. They believe that no obstacle is insurmountable and that every problem has a solution if you are willing to search for it, whether it's a business failure, a personal setback, or financial struggles. Those who adopt this mindset approach these situations as opportunities to learn, grow, and improve. They know that failure is not final, it is simply part of the process of success. Wealthy people understand that what matters is not how many times they fall, but how many times they get back up. This mindset of resilience and relentless determination is what separates the wealthy from those who struggle financially or emotionally. Wealthy people don't let temporary circumstances define their future. They are not overly influenced by short-term challenges or failures. Instead, they maintain a clear vision of their long-term goals, and their efforts are consistently aligned with that vision, no matter the difficulties they encounter. This ability to stay the course and continue working towards their dreams, even when the world seems to be against them, is a defining feature of successful individuals. In addition to resilience, those who act as if they are already rich have an unwavering belief in their ability to create wealth and success. This belief is the bedrock of the unstoppable mindset. Wealthy individuals are confident in their capacity to overcome challenges and create opportunities. They are not afraid to take risks or venture into unknown territory because they trust their skills, judgment, and ability to adapt to changing circumstances. This confidence in their own abilities empowers them to make bold decisions and take decisive actions, which often lead to breakthroughs and unexpected successes. Moreover, an unstoppable mindset involves a deep understanding that wealth, in all its forms, takes time to build. There are no shortcuts to lasting success. Those who act as if they are already rich know that true wealth is not a quick fix, but a gradual accumulation. Whether it's money, personal growth, or professional success, the journey is one of patience, persistence, and consistent effort. Wealthy individuals don't expect immediate rewards, and they are willing to put in the hard work required to achieve their goals. They embrace the long-term process, understanding that success often requires years of work and the willingness to stay committed even when progress seems slow or uncertain. This mindset of perseverance and patience also helps wealthy individuals manage stress and pressure. When you believe that you are capable of overcoming any challenge, the pressure to succeed becomes less overwhelming. Instead of feeling anxious or defeated by setbacks, those with an unstoppable mindset see challenges as opportunities to demonstrate their strength, creativity, and resourcefulness. This perspective shift helps them stay calm and focused. Even in the face of adversity, they recognize that challenges are not personal attacks or evidence of failure. They are simply a part of the process that leads to greater achievements. An unstoppable mindset also encourages adaptability and flexibility. Wealthy individuals know that the road to success is rarely straight, and they are willing to pivot and adjust their approach when necessary. Instead of becoming stuck or frustrated when things don't go as planned, they remain open to new ideas, strategies, and opportunities. They know that being flexible and willing to change course is an essential part of maintaining momentum and continuing to move forward toward their goals. Ultimately, an unstoppable mindset is about taking ownership of your future. It's about recognizing that no matter the circumstances, you have the power to shape your destiny. Wealthy individuals understand that their success is not determined by external factors like luck or the economy, but by their own mindset and actions. They take responsibility for their choices and are always looking for ways to improve themselves and their strategies. This sense of ownership and control over their lives fuels their drive to succeed and ensures that they never give up on their goals, no matter how challenging the journey may be. When you embody an unstoppable mindset, you attract wealth and success without having to chase them. Your belief in your own ability to achieve your goals and your determination to stay focused and committed act as a magnet for opportunities. Others are drawn to your confidence, your resilience, and your unwavering dedication, and this energy naturally leads to greater success in all areas of your life. You become a magnet for the wealth you desire, not only in material terms but also in personal growth, relationships, and overall fulfillment. What if the secret to success isn't waiting for the perfect moment but creating it? Most people get stuck, paralyzed by doubt, hesitation, or endless what-ifs. But what separates those who win from those who don't isn't luck or talent, it's the ability to take action, even when every part of you says no. Imagine unlocking a mindset so powerful that excuses vanish, procrastination dies, and progress becomes unstoppable. In this video, you'll discover how to ignite that unstoppable force within yourself, turning small steps into giant leaps and chaos into clarity, because the moment you stop fighting yourself, everything starts to fall perfectly into place. 1. The calm before the shift. Life in its essence is a sequence of unpredictable events. No matter how well we plan or how thoroughly we prepare, uncertainty is inevitable. This isn't a flaw in the system, it's the nature of existence itself. The world operates on variables we can't always measure. Markets crash, people leave, opportunities vanish, illnesses come without warning. So often, just when we believe we're finally gaining momentum, something shifts. The illusion of control dissolves, and what we're left with is discomfort, doubt, and disorientation. Yet if we study patterns both in nature and in personal transformation, we begin to see a consistent truth despite how chaotic things may appear in the moment. Eventually, with time and perspective, everything begins to fall into place. But here's the catch. It doesn't fall into place by accident. This isn't about some whimsical cosmic coincidence or blind luck. What appears as everything working out is usually the result of alignment. Alignment with your values, with your timing, with your preparation. People who seem calm during storms, who don't break under pressure, aren't lucky. They're aligned. They've accepted that disorder is temporary and that clarity is earned, not granted. Instead of resisting the shift, they embrace it, and in doing so, they avoid being consumed by it. Let's break that down. Every delay or detour you face is often misinterpreted as a failure, but research in psychology, particularly in the domain of cognitive reframing, shows that how we interpret events shapes our mental resilience. The concept of benefit finding, a proven psychological phenomenon, demonstrates that individuals who view challenges as meaningful tend to experience higher life satisfaction and lower rates of depression. That's not optimism for the sake of optimism. That's a trained perspective. When you train your mind to view setbacks as setups, your emotional reaction shifts. You move from panic to patience, from control to trust. In neuroscience, this is supported by how the brain's default mode network, DMN, processes reflection and future planning. When we pause and mentally reframe our experiences, we allow the DMN to activate insight-based thinking. This is why moments of silence and stillness often feel like they offer us clarity. We're literally activating a part of our brain wired to find meaning in chaos. In other words, what feels like intuition is sometimes your brain solving puzzles beneath the surface, aligning fragments into a fuller picture. In highly successful individuals, from top athletes to visionary entrepreneurs, there is a well-documented commonality: emotional regulation under stress. They practice what's known as cognitive flexibility, the ability to pivot mentally when things don't go as planned. Rather than resisting change, they adjust. That adjustment, that flexibility, is what allows the shift to happen without collapse. You stay in the game long enough for the tide to turn in your favor. This is what the phrase "everything falls into place" really means. It means you held your frame, your discipline, your belief, long enough for circumstances to realign around you. People who seem unshaken aren't without fear or setbacks. They've just accepted that clarity is rarely immediate. They don't expect every chapter to make sense while they're still living it. Instead, they zoom out. They understand that their life isn't meant to unfold in a single straight line. It's a network of pivots, lessons, delays, and leaps. This understanding keeps them composed. It keeps them moving forward even when the path ahead isn't visible. They've internalized the truth. The timeline is never wrong, only your expectations of it are. That sentence holds weight. Let's sit with it. Society teaches us to rush, graduate by 22, have a career by 25, be married by 30, retire by 60. These are artificial benchmarks. Studies in adult developmental psychology, such as those by Erickson and later elaborated by Daniel Levinson, show that adult growth does not follow a linear or uniform timeline. People discover purpose, love, identity, and fulfillment at vastly different stages. The timelines you're holding yourself to are often outdated blueprints passed down without context. When life doesn't align with those templates, you feel like you're behind, when in fact you're just on a path uniquely yours. This is where the real calm comes in. When you stop forcing everything to happen on time, you create space for things to happen in their own time. That doesn't mean you sit idle. You still work, you still train, you still show up. But your energy shifts. You're no longer frantic, You're focused. You're no longer desperate for control. You're disciplined in your trust. That's when alignment happens. That's when the preparation you've done quietly behind the scenes begins to meet opportunity. The idea that everything eventually falls into place isn't meant to excuse inaction. It's meant to guide you through the moments when your actions don't seem to be paying off yet. It's meant to help you see that the universe isn't ignoring your effort. It's timing your breakthrough. The calm before the shift is sacred. It's uncomfortable, yes, but it's sacred. It's the silence before momentum, the stillness before elevation. And those who can hold their frame during that silence are the ones who rise the furthest when the shift arrives. So if you find yourself in that place right now, in the unknown, in the delay, in the in-between, remember this: it's not the end. It's redirection. It's alignment in motion. You're not off track. You're being positioned. What seems unclear now will make sense later. What feels stagnant now will unfold with purpose. Stay grounded, stay patient, stay sharp, because once the pieces begin to fall, they fall fast. And if you've held steady through the storm, you won't just survive it, you'll be ready for what comes next. 2. Mastering the art of alignment. Alignment is one of the most misunderstood concepts in modern self-development. It's not passivity. It's not waiting endlessly for the perfect moment. It's not inaction disguised as patience. Alignment is strategy. It's preparation timed with wisdom. It's the process of positioning yourself internally, mentally, emotionally, physically, so that when the right moment arrives, you are ready to meet it without panic, hesitation, or regret. This paragraph distills the essence of that idea. It's about recognizing that success isn't just about forceful effort, but about well-timed execution, about understanding when to move, and just as importantly, when not to. To understand alignment, we first need to understand what happens when we chase everything prematurely. There is a well-documented psychological bias known as temporal discounting, where humans tend to choose smaller, immediate rewards over larger, delayed ones. In a world of instant gratification, most people have been conditioned to believe that faster equals better, but studies like the famous Stanford marshmallow experiment have shown that those who are able to delay gratification often experience significantly better outcomes in areas like academic performance, career success, and emotional regulation. This is the science behind alignment, the ability to pause, to prepare, to wait until the right door opens rather than trying to break down everyone you see. Imagine two equally talented individuals. Both have ambition, work ethic, and drive, but their approach is different. One is reactive, chasing every opportunity, saying yes to everything, afraid to pause. They are constantly in motion, but lack direction. They burn out, not because they lacked potential, but because they exhausted themselves on the wrong paths. The other is deliberate. They understand that not every opportunity is a fit. They study timing. They say no more than they say yes. And when they act, they do so with precision. That's alignment. It's not less work, it's smarter work, and over time it compounds. In the corporate world, we see this clearly with startup culture. Many companies fail not because their idea was bad, but because they entered the market too soon or too late. Market timing, product readiness, customer demand, these are all alignment factors. The same applies to life. Relationships that fail because they started before both people were emotionally ready. Careers that stall because someone chased a title before building the right foundation. It's not that success was impossible, it's that the timing wasn't aligned. One of the most important realizations you can have is this: forcing something before you're ready doesn't make it happen faster, it makes it fall apart faster. That's why alignment matters. It filters out what's not meant for you. Timing isn't a punishment, it's a mechanism that ensures you don't end up in places you're not yet equipped to handle. A promotion too soon can destroy confidence. A relationship too early can ruin your growth. A decision made in desperation can lock you into years of regret. When people say when the student is ready, the teacher appears, they're speaking to alignment. It's not mystical, it's practical. Your readiness attracts opportunities that match your level of preparation. In neuroscience, this is partially explained by reticular activating system RAS function. This part of the brain helps you filter information and focus on what's relevant. When you are aligned, mentally focused, emotionally grounded, and clear in your purpose, you begin to notice and act on opportunities that match your path because your RAS is tuned in. You're no longer overwhelmed by the noise, you're dialed into the signal. This is what the paragraph means when it says timing is not a curse, it's a filter. Most people interpret delays as personal failure. They think, why not me? Why not now? But alignment shifts that thinking to, what is this preparing me for? What am I not yet seeing? That's a powerful mental pivot. It shifts you from frustration to focus, from anxiety to anticipation, and in that mental state you become exponentially more effective, not just in what you do, but in how you see the world. There's also a key behavioral psychology principle at play here called action readiness. When you're aligned, your body and mind are primed for performance. You've rehearsed, you've visualized, you've trained, and when the moment arrives, you act with confidence, not uncertainty. In sports, this is known as flow state or being in the zone. It's not accidental, it's the byproduct of deep preparation aligning with real-time execution. Now think about the phrase, those who win in life don't just work hard, they work in harmony with the timing of their preparation and the reality around them. That sentence is profound because it breaks the myth of hustle culture. Hard work alone is not enough. Countless people burn out chasing a dream that wasn't fully formed or jumping at an opportunity they weren't equipped to sustain. But those who succeed long-term understand the rhythm of life. They pay attention to context. They don't just act, they adapt, they listen, they wait, they study the moment, and when they strike, they do so from a place of mastery, not anxiety. Here's what makes it powerful for your audience. This idea validates the journey. It tells them that being in a season of preparation is not a waste, it's wisdom. That saying no to what doesn't feel aligned isn't fear, it's foresight. That delaying action to ensure readiness isn't procrastination, it's precision. And that the pressure to get ahead often leads people to places they were never meant to be. You don't need to force the door open, you need to be ready when the right one unlocks. So how do you know when you're aligned? You feel clarity. You're not chasing opportunities begin to match your pace. You're not in panic, you're in flow. Your actions are no longer reactive, they're responsive. And even when things don't move fast, they move forward. That's the sign. Life may still test you, there may still be friction, but underneath it you'll feel alignment, you'll feel prepared, and in that preparation you'll find peace. Because suddenly life won't feel like a constant struggle to make things happen. It will feel like a series of moments you're finally ready for. That's the art. Not pushing, not rushing, but preparing so thoroughly, so intentionally, that when the time comes, you don't have to force anything at all. It just fits, it clicks, it flows. And just like that, everything begins to fall into place. 3. The power of patience. Patience in the modern world is often misunderstood as passivity or inaction. We're conditioned to associate success with speed, faster results, immediate gratification, instant progress. But real growth, sustainable transformation, and deep mastery do not operate on those terms. They follow the rhythm of process, not impulse. This paragraph reframes patience not as simply waiting, but as something far more powerful and deliberate: preparation, emotional control, and strategic discipline. That distinction changes everything. When the paragraph says patience is not waiting, it's preparation, it's control, it's highlighting that patience is an active mindset, not a passive state. Research in behavioral psychology backs this up. Studies on self-regulation, such as those conducted by Dr. Walter Mischel, the psychologist behind the original marshmallow experiment, demonstrated that individuals who showed delayed gratification didn't simply suppress their urges. Instead, they actively engaged strategies to distract themselves, visualize the reward, and mentally reframe time. They weren't idle, they were managing their response to time, investing their energy wisely until the reward arrived. That's what real patience looks like. In neuroscience, this shows up as prefrontal cortex activity. This region of the brain is associated with planning, future thinking, and impulse control. People who exhibit higher patience scores tend to have more activity in this region when confronted with delayed outcomes. So biologically, patience is less about inaction and more about intentional focus. It's a kind of mental positioning. You're not doing nothing, you're doing the work of readiness. Now consider the idea that most people give up right before everything begins to fall into place. That's not just a motivational quote, it's a pattern documented across countless case studies. In entrepreneurship, for example, a Harvard Business School report on startup survival revealed that the majority of ventures that eventually succeeded went through long periods of stagnation or near failure before pivoting or breaking through. Many founders have admitted that the closest they ever came to quitting was mere months, sometimes weeks, before their first big breakthrough. What this tells us is that the quiet phases, the periods where nothing seems to be happening, are often the most critical. but only the patient ever find out why. The problem is that we're not trained to handle silence. As humans, we associate lack of visible progress with failure. Cognitive biases like negativity bias and catastrophizing push us to assume the worst when we don't see forward motion. We misread the quiet as stagnation. We think, if nothing is happening, I must be doing something wrong. But that assumption is not only false, it's dangerous. It causes people to abandon goals too soon, pivot prematurely, or sabotage their own trajectory because they're uncomfortable with not seeing instant results. This is where the metaphor in the paragraph, "seeds grow in silence before they break through the soil," becomes more than poetic. It's biologically true. In botany, the germination phase of a seed takes place entirely underground. During this phase, the seed absorbs water, activates enzymes, and begins cell division. This process is invisible to the eye, but without it, there would be no plant. The seed cannot rush this stage. If it's dug up too soon, it dies. Human growth works the same way. Before visible results come, there's internal restructuring, mental rewiring, emotional refinement, skill building, character development. All of it happens quietly. Progress is often hidden before it is seen. The idea that delay is not denial, it's design, is a profound mindset shift. It speaks directly to the way we perceive time and results. In Western culture especially, we're obsessed with deadlines and milestones. But developmental psychology shows that humans do not grow in fixed intervals. We grow in spurts. Think of language acquisition in children. A child may speak very few words for months and then suddenly begin forming sentences. It's not that nothing was happening before, language was forming quietly beneath the surface. The same applies to creative breakthroughs, business success, and personal development. Patience also serves as a form of emotional resilience. Emotional resilience is defined in psychology as the ability to adapt well in the face of adversity, trauma, or significant stress. A critical component of resilience is the ability to delay emotional reaction, to sit in the discomfort of uncertainty without collapsing into fear or impulsiveness. That's patience in action. You're not avoiding difficulty, you're holding your ground while the storm passes. You're not denying emotion, you're mastering it. For your audience, especially those facing long periods of stagnation, the idea that silence isn't failure is incredibly powerful. We live in a culture that equates noise with movement, constant notifications, metrics, analytics, engagement. Every aspect of life is quantified, but what's missing from that system is depth, the kind of growth that doesn't show up in analytics, the quiet internal shifts that eventually change the way you think, the way you act, and the way you show up in the world. Let's apply this practically. Imagine someone working on a business that isn't gaining traction yet, or someone training at the gym without seeing immediate transformation, or someone recovering from trauma who doesn't feel better yet. In all those cases, the temptation is to quit, to change course, to assume that because results aren't visible, effort isn't working. But neuroscience, biology, psychology all confirm the opposite. The effort is working, but its effects haven't surfaced yet. This is the calm before the breakthrough, and only those who understand the power of patience will ever experience what comes next. There is also a spiritual element here, not religious but deeply human. Patience cultivates faith, not blind belief but practiced trust. Trust in your own effort, trust in your timeline, trust that what's meant for you is not being delayed arbitrarily but intentionally. Life's timing is not always designed for comfort, it's designed for alignment. And if the thing you're building, becoming, or reaching for requires a stronger version of you, then the delay is the construction period. So when you're in the quiet season, the season where everything seems still, don't panic, prepare. Don't pull the seed from the soil, let it root, let it strengthen, let it reach for something deeper before it grows toward the light. That stillness is not nothing, it's the design before the delivery. And when the time comes, and it will, you won't just be ready for your moment, you'll be built for it. That's what patience does. It doesn't make you wait, it makes you worthy. That is the power of patience. 4. Redirection is not rejection. Rejection is one of the most difficult emotions we experience as human beings. It triggers some of the oldest survival mechanisms in our brain. When we're told no, whether by a person, a job, a dream, or an outcome we deeply wanted, we instinctively perceive it as a threat to our identity, our value, or our belonging. But this paragraph reframes rejection entirely. It asks us to look at what we label as failure through a different lens. not as a sign that we are unworthy, but as a signal that something else, something better aligned, is trying to make its way into our life. This reframing is not just comforting, it's backed by psychology, neuroscience, and countless real-life examples. Let's begin with a simple but powerful concept: cognitive reappraisal. This is a psychological strategy where individuals change their emotional response to a situation by reinterpreting its meaning. Numerous studies, such as those by psychologist James Gross at Stanford, show that people who actively reframe negative experiences like rejection tend to have better emotional resilience, lower stress, and greater overall life satisfaction. So when this paragraph suggests that rejection is actually redirection, it's offering a scientifically supported way to navigate adversity with more strength and clarity. Think about how often what felt like a loss in the moment later became the very thing that created a breakthrough. A job you didn't get that led you to a better role. A breakup that pushed you into discovering who you really are. A project that failed but taught you a lesson that became the foundation for your success later. This isn't just anecdotal, it's a pattern. In fact, research conducted at the University of Virginia found that people who experienced failure or setback early in life often outperformed their peers in the long run, provided they learned from it. What initially appeared as a disadvantage became a catalyst for resilience and clarity. That's redirection in action. When the paragraph says you can't see the full picture while you're living in the moment, it points to a deeper truth about time and perspective. In cognitive science, there's a concept called the narrative arc of memory. We don't remember events as isolated data points, we remember them as parts of stories. But when you're inside the story, mid-chapter, it rarely makes sense. You don't know the outcome, you don't see the plot twist. You only see the discomfort. It's only in hindsight that the story becomes coherent. And often what looked like rejection was actually the moment your story began to shift towards something more authentic to your purpose. There's also an emotional mechanism at work: ego identity. The ego doesn't just want things to work, it wants things to work the way it planned. So when something doesn't go according to the plan, the ego registers it as rejection, as invalidation, as proof that we're somehow not enough. But if we can detach from that reaction, if we can let go of the illusion that we always know best, we create space to see the deeper intelligence of redirection. In real-world terms, consider how this plays out in relationships. A person you thought was the one leaves. At first it feels like collapse. You grieve not just the person, but the story you built around them. But as time passes, you often discover that the relationship wasn't as aligned as you imagined, that their absence made space for a version of you that was waiting to emerge. And eventually someone enters your life who fits not the person you were, but the person you became after the redirection. Or think about careers. You get rejected from a job you felt certain about. The rejection stings. But that no forces you to reevaluate your path. Maybe it leads you to start something of your own. Maybe it gives you time to develop a skill you would have neglected otherwise. Months or years later, you look back and realize that if that door had opened, you might have ended up in a role that didn't suit your growth or values. That's not failure, that's strategic redirection. The key is understanding that redirection only feels like punishment when we resist it. When we define ourselves solely by external outcomes, every closed door feels like a threat. But when we adopt the mindset that life has more intelligence than we can see in the moment, we begin to relate to rejection not as a block but as a boundary meant to protect us from misalignment. This is where the phrase "every closed door becomes a clue, not a curse" comes alive. Reframing a closed opportunity as a clue invites curiosity. It prompts questions like, what wasn't right about that path? What did I learn from this experience? What am I being redirected toward? These questions shift your mental state from helplessness to insight. That's not spiritual bypassing, it's psychological resilience. Moreover, neuroscience supports the idea that reflection rewires the brain. When we reflect on rejection constructively, we activate parts of the brain associated with growth and learning, the anterior cingulate cortex and the prefrontal cortex. This is neuroplasticity in motion. Our brain physically rewires itself in response to how we interpret events. Rejection becomes not a wound, but a forge. There's also evidence from long-term success studies. A 2018 paper from the National Bureau of Economic Research found that scientists who narrowly missed receiving early career grants actually published more impactful work over the next 10 years than those who narrowly received them. The takeaway: Early rejection forced them to become more innovative, more resilient, and ultimately more impactful. They weren't rejected, they were redirected into a version of their career that was more powerful than the one they had initially pursued. The same logic applies to anyone pursuing purpose. The no you hear today might be the reason you're available for the yes tomorrow. If every opportunity worked out, if every door opened, you'd have no room to receive the ones that truly matter. Redirection makes space, it trims what's not meant for you, it reroutes your energy towards something more aligned with who you're becoming. And that's the final truth at the core of this paragraph. Alignment is often invisible in the moment. Redirection is alignment doing its work behind the scenes. It's not always gentle, it doesn't always feel good, but it's precise. It removes what doesn't serve your path, even when you don't understand it yet. So the next time a door closes, resist the urge to panic, resist the impulse to label it failure. Instead, pause and ask, what if this isn't rejection? What if this is life clearing the path for something better? The answers won't always be immediate, but if you trust the process, if you hold your frame, one day you'll look back and realize the no was never the end, it was the beginning of everything falling into place. 5. Let go of the timeline. We live in a world governed by clocks, calendars, deadlines, and milestones. From the moment we are born, we're placed on a track lined with expectations, some spoken, most implied. This paragraph challenges one of the most deeply ingrained societal narratives, that life must unfold by a certain age, and that if it doesn't, you've somehow fallen behind. It dismantles the idea that success, love, growth, or purpose must arrive on a schedule defined by others, and in its place, it presents a liberating truth, that timing is personal and alignment is what truly matters. From early childhood, most people are handed an invisible script. Finish school by your early 20s, find a stable job right after, get married by your late 20s or early 30s, buy a house, have children, and retire by 65. This script, while common, is not based on individual readiness, emotional maturity, or real-world alignment. It's based on a cultural average, a set of expectations developed largely during the industrial era where standardized progress was necessary for workforce planning and social conformity. But human development doesn't happen in averages, it happens in unique, often unpredictable rhythms. Developmental psychologists like Erickson and Daniel Levinson have shown that growth in adulthood is fluid, not fixed. Erickson's psychosocial stages recognize that major developmental milestones, such as forming identity, building intimacy, or achieving purpose, can occur at different times for different people. Levinson's work on adult development further emphasized that life unfolds in seasons and that late bloomers often experience just as much, if not more, satisfaction and contribution in their later years than those who achieve early success. In other words, the idea that you must succeed early is not supported by psychology, it's a social construct. When the paragraph says you panic when it doesn't happen, it speaks to the emotional toll of comparison and perceived failure. Neuroscience shows that social comparison activates areas of the brain associated with pain, the dorsal anterior cingulate cortex and anterior insula. That's right, comparing yourself to others actually creates the same brain response as physical pain, and yet we do it constantly, measuring our timelines against someone else's highlight reel. We see someone succeed at 25 and feel late. We see someone marry young and feel unwanted. But comparison is always flawed because it never accounts for context, timing, or alignment. The most successful and fulfilled people rarely followed the timeline. Vera Wang didn't design her first dress until she was 40. Colonel Sanders didn't franchise KFC until 62. Morgan Freeman didn't get his first major movie role until he was 52. Oprah was fired from her first job in television. Steve Carell didn't land his breakout role until 43. These aren't just inspirational stories, they're data points that challenge the myth of the perfect timeline. Their common thread wasn't timing, it was alignment. When preparation met opportunity, they were ready, regardless of their age. That's why the paragraph says time doesn't determine worth, alignment does. It's not about how fast you arrive, it's about who you are when you do. If you rush into success unprepared, you risk losing it just as fast. If you force a relationship before you're healed, it breaks. If you start a business without clarity, it collapses. The goal is not to hit milestones quickly. The goal is to hit them authentically, when you're ready to handle them with wisdom, not desperation. This also brings up the concept of life scripts in sociology. A life script is a set of culturally shared expectations about the sequence and timing of major life events. But life scripts vary drastically by culture, class, and generation. What feels late in one country might be early in another. In Scandinavia, for example, many people don't marry until their mid-30s. In parts of South Asia, arranged marriages still occur in the early 20s. The timelines are arbitrary. What's real is alignment with self. That's where freedom begins. So when the paragraph says, the moment you let go of society's fake timeline is the moment you become free, it's speaking to psychological liberation. In psychological terms, this is called self-authorship, the ability to define your own beliefs, identity, and path, rather than adopting the one handed to you. According to Dr. Robert Kegan's theory of adult development, self-authorship is one of the highest stages of psychological maturity. It's when you stop living according to roles and expectations and start living according to your own truth. And here's the most important part. When you stop comparing your timeline, you actually start living it. The energy that was once used to judge yourself or imitate others gets redirected into forward movement. You take the first step, then the next, and before long you realize you're building a life that's real, not performative. That's what the paragraph means when it says you start walking it, step by step, moment by moment. Success, love, healing, mastery, none of these are linear. They are emergent. They unfold as you do. This also ties into the concept of intrinsic motivation, doing something because it's meaningful to you, not because it fits someone else's timeline. Research shows that intrinsic motivation leads to greater persistence, creativity, and satisfaction. People who follow their own pace often produce more innovative and meaningful work because they are not distracted by the pressure to fit into someone else's calendar. Even in personal development, this matters deeply. Healing doesn't happen on a schedule. Some people confront their trauma at 20, others at 60. The depth of the transformation is not lessened by time, it's often strengthened by it. Emotional maturity has no deadline, and self-discovery has no finish line. For your audience, especially those feeling behind in life, this paragraph is a permission slip. It tells them, you're not late, you're not broken, you're just not done yet. Your timeline isn't flawed, it's yours, and if you keep comparing it to someone else's, you'll miss the very steps that lead to your alignment. So let go. Let go of the imaginary deadlines. Let go of the pressure to be further ahead. Let go of the belief that if it hasn't happened yet, it never will. None of that is true. What's true is this. If you are building with intention, if you are growing with awareness, if you are walking your own path with integrity, then everything that is meant for you is already moving toward you. And when it arrives, it won't feel rushed, it won't feel forced, it won't feel like borrowed success or conditional love. It will feel right, because it came at the right time, not society's time, your time. That is the gift of letting go of the timeline. That is how everything begins to fall into place. 6. Preparation over panic. Over panic. This paragraph delivers one of the most fundamental and yet most overlooked principles of growth. When results stall, don't panic, prepare. In a world obsessed with instant feedback and visible success, silence is uncomfortable. We're conditioned to interpret quiet periods as failure, lack of movement as regression. But the truth is often the opposite. As this paragraph points out, it's during those exact silent seasons when the most important transformations occur, the ones we don't see, the ones that happen beneath the surface. What looks like stillness is often a time of deep restructuring. This isn't motivational fluff, it's grounded in behavioral psychology, neuroscience, high-performance studies, and real-world outcomes. Let's begin with the psychology of panic. When things don't seem to be working, when progress isn't visible, our brain's amygdala, the center responsible for threat detection, gets activated. This can lead to fight or flight responses even if there's no physical danger. We catastrophize, assume the worst, and begin spiraling into unproductive emotional states. Dr. David Rock, author of the SCARF model in neuroscience, notes that uncertainty triggers the same stress response in the brain as physical pain. That's why the absence of visible progress can feel almost unbearable. It registers as a threat to our sense of identity and control. But here's where the shift happens. Instead of reacting with panic, the paragraph invites you to respond with preparation. This is what separates those who evolve from those who stagnate. In performance psychology, this principle is known as mental contrast with implementation intentions. It's the practice of envisioning the future while simultaneously preparing for obstacles. Studies by Dr. Gabrielle Canevin show that individuals who do this are significantly more likely to follow through on goals, not because they're more talented, but because they've rehearsed resilience. They've trained themselves to prepare when others worry. The sentence, "most people spend more energy worrying than working," is not just a critique, it's a data-backed reality. According to the American Institute of Stress, roughly 77% of people experience stress that affects their physical health, and over 70% say it impacts their productivity. Worry burns energy, it depletes cognitive bandwidth. The working memory, the system responsible for holding and processing short-term information, gets overloaded by anxious thoughts. And when that happens, decision-making quality drops, focus fractures, and momentum stalls. In contrast, preparation, real, intentional mental and physical readiness, activates the prefrontal cortex, the center of rational thought, planning, and impulse control. Now think about the phrase, "they are preparing even when the world can't see them," especially then. This speaks to a deep form of internal discipline, not performative effort, not showing up because someone's watching, but grinding in silence, refining skill, building capacity when no one is clapping. Research from Angela Duckworth on the concept of grit supports this. Her studies show that sustained effort toward long-term goals, especially when faced with setbacks, is a better predictor of success than talent or intelligence. And grit doesn't happen in public. It's formed in private during the seasons when external validation is absent. This is echoed in elite sports. Olympic athletes spend years training for moments that last minutes. Most of that preparation is unseen: 4 a.m. training sessions, discipline in diet, relentless repetition. When the moment comes, they don't panic. They don't rise to the occasion. They fall back on their preparation. This is what the paragraph means when it says, "You want everything to fall into place? Then make sure you're in place first." Being in place means having the habits, mindset, skill set, and readiness already built. Because when opportunity finally arrives, when the call comes, the door opens, the person enters, the stage is set. You won't get extra time to scramble. You either step into it or you miss it. Success doesn't wait for you to feel ready. It rewards those who already are. That's not pressure, that's clarity. Let's talk about the concept of the silent season mentioned in the paragraph. This ties beautifully into both agricultural metaphors and biological truth. In agronomy, root development often happens before stem growth is visible. A tree's roots expand to stabilize the future growth above ground. If that root system isn't strong, the tree topples during the first storm. Similarly, people need to strengthen their internal infrastructure, discipline, emotional control, mental clarity, before visible success can be sustained. What happens below determines what will eventually grow above. In human terms, this is your character, your thinking patterns, your daily discipline. Without these roots, any early success becomes unsustainable. This is why many people experience false starts in life. They gain momentum too early without the preparation to hold it. They get the job but lack the skill. They enter the relationship but haven't healed. They build the business but can't manage their energy. What looks like opportunity becomes pressure, and it collapses. That's not failure. It's a sign that the inner work wasn't done, preparation was skipped, panic took its place. What does preparation look like in practice? It's everything that strengthens you before results show up. It's studying when no test is scheduled, practicing your craft before there's an audience, learning how to manage your emotions when no one's challenging you, preparing a portfolio when no one's hiring, building a routine when motivation is low. That's the difference between readiness and reaction. You're not waiting for life to force your hand. You're shaping your hand before the game begins. And here's something powerful. Preparation builds confidence. True confidence doesn't come from affirmations. It comes from evidence. When you know you've done the work, you move differently. You speak with authority. You take risks wisely. You stop second-guessing, because your preparation has created a foundation stronger than fear. Now let's revisit that final line. When opportunity arrives, it doesn't wait for you to be ready. It rewards those who already are. This is a truth echoed by nearly every high achiever across industries. When the call comes, when the stage lights hit, when the investor is interested, when the right person enters, there's no pause button. You don't get to go back and prepare, you only get to perform. And if you've built yourself during the quiet season, you don't just perform, you elevate. You meet the moment fully. Not because it's easy, but because you trained for it. This mindset is not about perfectionism. It's about preparation. It's about knowing that your current lack of visible results is not a sign to retreat. It's a signal to go deeper, to sharpen the blade, to refine your process, because the future you want is already on the way. The question is, will you be ready when it gets here? So stop panicking, stop measuring your progress only by what's visible. Go underground, root yourself, build quietly, master your craft, prepare without applause, and when your season comes, and it will, you won't need to scramble. You'll rise naturally, because preparation doesn't shout, it shows, and it never fails to be rewarded. That is the power of preparation over panic. That is how you place yourself in position. That is how everything falls into place. 7. Trusting the chaos. Chaos is one of the most uncomfortable states a human being can experience. It feels disorienting, unsettling. It disrupts the order we think we've built and challenges the illusion that we are in control. But this paragraph delivers a powerful reframing. Chaos isn't random, it's a filter, a mechanism, a restructuring process. It's the universe or life itself, clearing out what's not aligned so that what is aligned can finally emerge. And while that process often feels painful or destructive, it's not punishment, it's preparation. Let's begin with the human response to chaos. Neuroscience shows that our brains are wired for pattern recognition. The moment those patterns break, when routines collapse, plans fall through, or outcomes change, our amygdala activates, interpreting the disruption as a threat. This leads to heightened anxiety, emotional dysregulation, and reactive thinking. But if we reframe what chaos represents, if we recognize that it might be creating space rather than just causing pain, we change the chemical response in the brain. Cognitive reframing, a concept widely studied in psychology, shows that our interpretation of an event can reduce its emotional intensity. In other words, chaos becomes more bearable when we believe it's working for us rather than against us. The paragraph's assertion that chaos is a filter is deeply insightful. In nature and in systems theory, chaos often precedes transformation. In physics, there's the concept of entropy, the tendency for systems to move from order to disorder. But entropy isn't just decay, it's movement toward a new order. In chaos theory, even seemingly random, turbulent systems contain hidden patterns and structures. This has been observed in everything from weather systems to ecosystems to economies. The same applies to human lives. What looks like disorder is often the breakdown of what was no longer sustainable, and only after that collapse can something stronger be built. This is what the paragraph means by things fall apart before they fall into place. It's not poetic, it's structural. If you've ever remodeled a house, you know the first step is demolition. You tear down walls, you gut the rooms. It looks worse before it looks better, but that destruction is strategic. It's making space for new design. The same applies to personal growth. Before you build confidence, insecurity must be challenged. Before you create clarity, confusion must surface. Before you grow, your old identity must often unravel. That unraveling, though painful, is not failure, it's necessary. Consider the psychological model known as post-traumatic growth, PTG. Developed by psychologists Richard Tedeschi and Lawrence Calhoun, PTG refers to the positive psychological change that can occur after significant life adversity. People who experience major disruptions, loss, trauma, betrayal, often report increased personal strength, greater appreciation for life, and deeper relational connections. Chaos, in this model, is a precursor to reconstruction. The breakdown leads to breakthroughs, not always immediately, not always cleanly, but undeniably. The paragraph also offers a critical question. What is this making space for? That question is a tool, a pivot point. Instead of spiraling, which is a common cognitive behavior during stress, the mind is invited into inquiry, and inquiry grounds us. It shifts us from reactive emotion to reflective awareness. This isn't just philosophical, it's biological. When we ask meaningful questions, the brain's default mode network activates. This network is associated with self-reflection and future planning. By turning toward purpose, even in pain, we literally engage a different system in the brain, one capable of creating meaning out of the mess. The sentence, "The old must collapse for the new to rise," echoes an ancient but still relevant truth found in myth, history, and human development. From ancient mythologies like the phoenix rising from ashes to modern psychological theories of ego death and rebirth, the idea is constant. Renewal follows breakdown. In Jungian psychology, Carl Jung speaks of the process of individuation, where a person must confront and dismantle their false identities, the personas built from external expectations, in order to uncover their true self. That dismantling often feels chaotic, but without it, transformation is incomplete. In practical terms, think about people who experience job loss, relationship breakdowns, or life-altering setbacks. At first, the disruption feels senseless. The plan is gone, the timeline is shattered. But if they hold steady, if they ask, what is this making space for? New insight emerges. They discover passions that were dormant. They build skills they never thought they'd need. They enter relationships that align with their deeper truth. They change direction, not because they planned to, but because the collapse of the old life revealed a better one. That's not coincidence, that's alignment through chaos. The paragraph encourages us not to fear the breaking. That's a radical mindset in a world obsessed with control. But fear of chaos is often fear of uncertainty. Research from psychology shows that the fear of the unknown is more distressing than fear of known danger. But when we train ourselves to embrace uncertainty, to see chaos as a construction zone rather than a battlefield, we reduce the paralysis that often accompanies fear. We stop fighting the process and begin working with it. And here's where the shift happens. Chaos becomes creative. It becomes fertile. Like soil after fire, it becomes richer. This is more than metaphor. In ecology, wildfires, though destructive, lead to the germination of certain seeds, the clearing of underbrush, and the renewal of ecosystems. Without the fire, the forest stagnates. Without the chaos, nothing new can grow. Your life operates the same way. The breaking makes room for better. So when the paragraph says, anchor yourself, it's offering more than comfort. It's a command. Anchor yourself in identity, in values, in perspective. Ground yourself in the belief that this is not the end but the clearing. Because if you collapse with the chaos, you miss the design unfolding within it. But if you steady yourself, if you trust the process, everything begins to shift, slowly, subtly, powerfully. There's a profound clarity that emerges on the other side of chaos. You see why things couldn't stay the way they were. You understand why certain people left, why certain opportunities faded, why certain dreams had to be rewritten. What once looked like destruction now looks like direction. You see the new space that was made, and in that space you start to build again, but this time with alignment. That's the wisdom in this paragraph. Chaos isn't random, it's the precursor to alignment. It shakes the ground, not to ruin you, but to rebuild you, stronger, clearer, more rooted. So don't fear the fall, don't resist the mess. Trust that beneath the disorder, something is being ordered, not according to your plan, but according to your growth. That is how chaos becomes creation. That is how the breaking becomes the building. That is how everything begins to fall into place. 8. Move with the flow. There's a reason this paragraph resonates so deeply. It speaks to one of the most vital yet counterintuitive truths about progress, that not all forward motion is forceful, not all success is built through resistance. Sometimes true momentum comes not by pushing harder, but by recognizing when to stop fighting the current and start moving with it. Move with the flow is not just a motivational phrase, it's a life philosophy rooted in psychological flexibility, neurobiology, Eastern philosophy, and even high-performance strategy. This paragraph captures the essence of wisdom that tells us timing, adaptability, and awareness are often more powerful than raw intensity. Let's begin with the opening line. Friction happens when you move against your season. This is a metaphor, but it reflects a psychological and biological truth. Just like nature moves in seasons, growth, rest, death, and rebirth, so do humans. And when we try to force a season we're not in, we encounter resistance. In behavioral psychology, this aligns with the concept of misalignment between internal states and external demands. When your internal energy, emotional bandwidth, or readiness does not match what you're pushing toward, the result is not progress, it's burnout. This friction shows up as fatigue, anxiety, creative blocks, or sudden failure. And yet most people don't interpret this friction as misalignment, they interpret it as a sign to push harder. We live in a productivity-obsessed culture that worships hustle and speed, even when the data shows it's not always the best path. A study from Stanford found that productivity per hour declines sharply when the work week exceeds 50 hours. After 55 hours, the drop-off is dramatic. Why? Because effort without alignment becomes waste. It's not that you're not working hard, it's that you're swimming upstream in a season meant for observation, reflection, or strategic repositioning. That's where the metaphor of the river becomes so powerful. The river doesn't fight its current, it moves with it. In both spiritual and scientific teachings, water has always symbolized adaptability, intelligence, and surrender. In Taoist philosophy, Wu Wei is the principle of non-action or effortless action, not inaction, but action that is in harmony with the flow of life. The Tao Te Ching teaches that water succeeds because it flows around obstacles rather than trying to defeat them. It finds its way through not by force but by awareness. This is reflected in sports psychology too. Elite athletes talk about the concept of flow state, a term popularized by Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. Flow state is the psychological condition where a person performs at their best with a sense of effortlessness and full immersion. It's not achieved through stress or pressure. It's achieved through challenge that matches skill level in an environment where distractions are minimal and intention is high. In other words, flow is not random. It's cultivated through alignment between readiness and opportunity. And when you're out of sync with that alignment, you experience the opposite: friction, fatigue, failure. The next part of the paragraph deepens this principle. Everything falls into place when you stop swimming against timing. Timing again is central here. In economics and business, timing is often more important than product or strategy. Countless startups with great ideas failed because they entered the market too early or too late. The same holds true in personal growth, relationships, and career decisions. The best outcome isn't always about effort, it's about entering at the right time. And that timing can't always be forced, it must be recognized. The line, "You don't need to rush, you don't need to resist, you need to recognize," offers a powerful psychological tool: recognition over resistance. In cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, one of the most effective interventions for anxiety and stress is recognition of thoughts and feelings without judgment. When you recognize rather than resist what is, you create space for choice. You pivot instead of panic. This is the science behind mindfulness, which research from Harvard and Stanford has repeatedly shown can reduce stress, increase clarity, and improve decision-making. But recognition requires stillness, and stillness feels threatening to those conditioned to equate motion with value. This is why the sentence, "Sometimes the answer is not to go faster but to go deeper," is so important. Depth doesn't mean delay, it means refinement. It means going inward, sharpening your tools, gaining clarity on your next move, rather than defaulting to mindless action. In chess, great players don't move quickly. They calculate multiple steps ahead. In martial arts, power comes from rootedness and timing, not brute strength. The same applies to life. Going deeper makes your next step more powerful, because it's based on understanding, not urgency. Observe where life is leading you, learn to pivot. This is a direct challenge to rigid thinking. The idea that if a path doesn't work, you just need to keep going harder down it is not always wise. It's sometimes self-sabotage. Strategic thinkers, athletes, and creators all know the value of the pivot. Netflix started as a DVD rental company. Slack was originally a failed video game. Instagram began as a check-in app. Their success didn't come from stubbornly sticking to the plan. It came from observing what worked, what didn't, and where the momentum naturally was. That's flow. This also connects with the concept of psychological flexibility, defined by researchers Stephen Hayes and Kelly Wilson as the ability to stay in contact with the present moment and adapt behavior to serve one's goals and values. Psychological flexibility has been shown to predict mental health, success, and even physical well-being. It's not about giving up, it's about adjusting without collapsing. That's what it means to move with the flow, to adapt when the path changes. To let go when something is no longer meant for you, not out of defeat, but out of discernment. Finally, the line, "Life doesn't always go according to your plan, but it always goes according to its purpose," is a profound statement about perspective. Plans are mental constructs. They are built on incomplete data, future assumptions, and ideal scenarios. But purpose, whether you define that spiritually, psychologically, or practically, is often revealed through disruption, not despite it. In other words, your highest alignment is rarely in the plan you wrote, it's in the reality that unfolds. And when you begin to move with flow, not force, clarity follows. This is a neurobiological truth. When we are in states of resistance, cortisol rises, stress narrows our cognitive flexibility, and creativity drops. When we shift into flow, the brain releases dopamine, norepinephrine, and anandamide, neurochemicals that enhance focus, pattern recognition, and innovation. So literally, clarity follows flow, chemically, emotionally, and cognitively. So what does all this mean for you or your audience? It means that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is stop pushing, step back, listen, feel the current of your life, your season, your energy. Ask, am I in flow or am I in friction? If it's friction, pause, reevaluate, pivot if needed. Because life is not against you, it may simply be redirecting you. Move with the flow, respect the season, trust the timing, and when you do, you'll find that progress isn't always fast, but it is always real. That is how momentum builds. That is how clarity returns. That is how everything falls into place. 9. Stillness is strategy. In a society that praises constant motion, relentless productivity, and visible hustle, the value of stillness is often overlooked or worse, misunderstood. This paragraph turns that entire mindset on its head. It argues that stillness isn't passive, it's powerful. It's not an absence of activity, but a deliberate state of strategic readiness. In a world dominated by overstimulation, the ability to pause, to be silent, to reflect, to wait with intention has become a rare and underappreciated skill. Yet stillness might be the very thing that separates impulsive reaction from intelligent action. It is, in fact, a form of mastery. Let's begin with the idea that silence, stillness, and waiting aren't weaknesses, they're strategies. This is supported by both science and practice. In neuroscience, the default mode network, DMN, is a network of brain regions that activates when the mind is at rest, not engaged in goal-directed tasks. Contrary to what people assume, this network isn't inactive. It's responsible for introspection, memory consolidation, envisioning the future, and constructing the self. So when you enter stillness, your brain isn't idle. It's processing. It's making connections you may not consciously notice. That's why solutions often arrive during showers, walks, or moments of quiet. The mind, free from distraction, begins to arrange thoughts into patterns. That's strategic stillness in action. The world's obsession with hustle culture stems from a misunderstanding of what progress looks like. You're told that if you're not constantly moving, you're falling behind. But this leads to what's known in psychology as cognitive overload. When the brain is overloaded with tasks, input, and decision-making, it loses efficiency. Studies have shown that multitasking and continuous action without breaks result in lower quality output and higher stress levels. According to research from the University of Illinois, even brief breaks during mentally demanding tasks improve performance significantly. Translation: rest isn't weakness, it's recovery, it's recalibration, and it enhances clarity and precision. When everything feels stuck, stop, listen, reflect. This line invites a shift in how we relate to stagnation. Most people panic when progress isn't visible. They assume that if they're not moving, they're losing. But stillness, especially during periods of confusion or uncertainty, isn't about giving up. It's about getting clear. That's where mindfulness and metacognition, thinking about your thinking, come in. Practicing these habits doesn't just calm you emotionally, it sharpens you mentally. You begin to differentiate between noise and signal, between impulse and insight. In that pause, you don't lose momentum, you refocus it. The paragraph's assertion that you don't climb by constantly moving, you climb by moving wisely, aligns with elite decision-making models. In military strategy, one of the most essential skills taught is situational awareness, the ability to understand your environment before acting. In chess, masters spend more time thinking than moving. Every piece advances only after multiple layers of foresight. In sports, especially martial arts, the ability to wait and observe the opponent's rhythm is often more decisive than pure aggression. All these disciplines, though different, teach the same principle. Stillness is not surrender, it's the pause before precision. The line, "Everything doesn't need your constant effort, some things just need your readiness," speaks to another truth: overexertion often backfires. You can't force a flower to bloom by tugging on it. You can't make a storm pass faster by shouting at the sky. Yet this is how many people approach their goals: constant action, zero patience, high expectations, no space for reflection. The result: burnout, discouragement, and distorted judgment. This is known in psychology as action bias, the impulse to do something even when it's better to wait. But successful people, leaders, creators, visionaries, learn how to wait well. They use stillness as a time to sharpen their edge, not dull their drive. Stillness sharpens you, it quiets the noise so you can hear the alignment. This is more than metaphor. Research shows that periods of solitude and silence activate the brain's learning and memory systems. In one study published in Brain Structure and Function, scientists found that silence, even just 2 hours per day, can stimulate the growth of new brain cells in the hippocampus, the area linked to learning and memory. What does this mean practically? It means that stepping back, being still, actually makes you smarter. It enhances your ability to notice connections, hear your intuition, and move with intelligence rather than just emotion. And that leads to one of the most important distinctions in this paragraph. Don't mistake movement for progress. Our culture glorifies motion, but not all motion is movement. You can spin your wheels and go nowhere. You can be endlessly busy and still deeply unproductive. You can be surrounded by noise, activity, and engagement, and still be misaligned with your purpose. Progress isn't just about how fast you move. It's about how aligned your movement is with your goals. That alignment is rarely found in chaos. It's usually discovered in quiet. The final sentence sums it all up. Sometimes, the stillest moments are the ones where everything starts to shift behind the scenes. That's a profound truth seen in nature, systems, and human transformation. Consider the bamboo tree. After it's planted, it doesn't break ground for several years. But beneath the soil, a root system is developing, expanding, stabilizing. When it finally emerges, it can grow over 3 feet in a single day. The stillness was never inactivity, it was preparation for explosive growth. Similarly, many of life's breakthroughs are preceded by stillness. Relationships end, projects stall, dreams seem to pause. But behind the scenes, internally, emotionally, even spiritually, something is building: a deeper foundation, a sharper perspective, a stronger core. And when the shift happens, it's not because you pushed harder, it's because you allowed space for the alignment to reveal itself. So for those listening or watching who feel stuck, lost, or tired, don't rush to react, don't panic into pointless motion. Don't let hustle culture convince you that speed equals success. Instead, be still, breathe, observe, sharpen, because in stillness, strategy is born, and when you finally move, it won't be out of fear, it'll be out of clarity. That is why stillness is not just rest, it's readiness. It's not the opposite of work, it's the wisdom behind it. Stillness is not stopping, it's waiting with intent. And when that intent meets the right moment, you don't just make progress, you make impact. That is how everything falls into place. 10. It all makes sense. Eventually, this final paragraph ties together every core principle we've explored so far: alignment, patience, preparation, redirection, timing, flow, and trust. It offers a lens that few people use in the present moment, but almost everyone adopts in hindsight: the lens of perspective. When we're in the middle of uncertainty, things rarely feel clear. They feel messy, fragmented, and unpredictable. But with time, distance, and reflection, those same moments begin to reveal themselves as part of a larger design. This paragraph speaks directly to that universal experience. It affirms that while the future may feel chaotic, the past often shows us it had purpose, and that same pattern continues forward. Let's start with the opening line. Looking forward, things feel uncertain, but looking back, it always makes sense. This is supported by psychological research on narrative identity. According to Dan P. McAdams, a leading scholar in personality psychology, humans are storytelling animals. We don't just live through events, we organize them into meaningful narratives. This is called narrative identity, and it's the internalized story we create about who we are and how we got here. But the key is that stories are made after the fact. In real time, life feels chaotic and non-linear. Only in reflection do we see the connecting threads. That's why we say it all makes sense eventually, because hindsight reveals the structure that foresight can't. The missed opportunities, the detours, the heartbreak, they were pieces of a larger plan. This line taps into something very real, that the events we once labeled as failures often become the defining moments of growth. In behavioral science, this is aligned with the theory of adversarial growth or post-traumatic growth, PTG. Researchers like Richard Tedeschi and Lawrence Calhoun have shown that individuals who experience adversity often report greater clarity about life priorities, deeper relationships, and increased inner strength. Why? Because what breaks us temporarily often reshapes us permanently. Think about it. The job you didn't get forced you to explore a path that ended up better aligned. The person who left created space for someone who truly saw you. The setback that derailed your plans gave you time to develop a skill, a mindset, or a vision that you didn't even know you needed. None of these moments felt purposeful at the time. They felt painful. But with distance, the pain becomes perspective, the wound becomes wisdom, and the loss becomes leverage for something greater. Everything you've been through prepared you, molded you, brought you here. This isn't just motivational, it's a statement of fact. Studies in developmental psychology show that our personality and resilience are shaped not in ideal conditions, but in complex environments. In other words, it's not comfort that forms character, it's challenge. And not just big, dramatic challenges. Even micro-frustrations, delays, rejections, small failures accumulate into lessons that shape how we respond to life. Neuroscience supports this too. The process of learning and adaptation, what scientists call neuroplasticity, is most active when we're dealing with change or adversity. In short, growth isn't an exception in hard times, it's the natural outcome if we remain open to it. And everything ahead of you will align too, not perfectly but purposefully. This is a critical distinction. Life does not become perfect when we trust the process. It becomes intentional. The idea here isn't that every future event will be easy or smooth. The message is that even when life doesn't unfold the way you imagined, it will unfold the way you need. This is alignment, not with fantasy, but with reality, with who you're becoming, with what you're truly built for. When we expect perfection, we suffer. When we seek purpose, we adapt. That's the shift this paragraph calls for. Stop trying to control every detail. This hits at the heart of modern anxiety, control addiction. We're taught to plan everything, calendars, deadlines, goals, expectations. And while structure is useful, over-control leads to emotional rigidity. Psychologists call this intolerance of uncertainty, a tendency to react negatively on an emotional, cognitive, and behavioral level to uncertain situations. High intolerance of uncertainty is linked to anxiety, depression, and burnout. But when we loosen our grip, when we release the need to predict every outcome, we access something far more powerful, flexibility. And with flexibility comes resilience. Now consider the line, trust that the right people, the right opportunities, the right timing, they are all moving toward you just as you are moving toward them. This is not about magical thinking. It's about the reality of preparation and positioning. When you grow mentally, emotionally, spiritually, you begin to attract and align with people, projects, and moments that match your frequency. Your habits change, your decisions evolve, your perspective expands, and as that happens, the external world begins to reflect your internal world. You meet someone not because of luck, but because you're finally ready to hold that kind of connection. You land the opportunity not by chance, but because your preparation met the moment. That's not fate, that's alignment in motion. This aligns with the reticular activating system, RAS, in neuroscience, a part of the brain that filters information based on what you deem important. When your goals and values shift, your RAS begins to prioritize different cues in your environment. You notice opportunities that were always there but previously invisible. That's the brain's version of alignment. It's not that the world changes, it's that you do. The final sentence, because when you live with alignment, preparation, and patience, everything falls into place, is the distilled wisdom of the entire script. These three pillars are not just virtues, they are strategies. Alignment means you're moving with your purpose, not just your pressure. Preparation means you've done the work even when no one was watching. Patience means you trust the timeline, not force it. And when all three come together, life begins to flow rather than fight you. Not because everything is easy, but because everything is intentional. That's why the title of this piece matters. Everything falls into place is not just a hopeful phrase, it's a pattern, a rhythm, a process that can only be seen fully in hindsight, but must be lived with trust in the present. So for those watching or listening who are in the middle of the unknown, who feel like nothing is happening or everything is falling apart, know this, it's not the end, it's the middle, and one day you'll look back and realize this season was necessary, that this chapter, though difficult, was essential. And you'll say the same words that millions before you have said after seasons of chaos, waiting, and transformation. It all makes sense eventually, because you didn't just survive, you aligned, you prepared, you trusted. And that's why everything in its own time fell into place.